When's that?
On the 3rd of November.
Yeah. Whereabouts do you start?
Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 nights.
Yeah.
Do you want all the details of the tour?
Well, where else do you go for Rockspeak listeners? I mean, it is said that it's sold out, actually, the tour, so it's rather tantalising for them to hear, I think.
Yeah, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Cardiff, Bristol, London, Stoke, Birmingham. I think I've got them all. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. And so, really, what are we going to hear? I mean, are you going to play new stuff?
You're going to hear Dark Side of the Moon, and a new first half, which we're working on at the moment.
Yeah.
Of which we've tried 2 of the numbers in France, when we went to France. And we're now writing another 2 pieces to make up an hour, or possibly an hour and a quarter, for the first set.
And very hard to translate music into words, but we'll have a go.
Very hard, anyway. It's going well. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
All of us are very encouraged, I believe, by the rehearsals and the music we're getting.
Is it similar to Dark Side of the Moon? Or?
No. No. It's just that, as you probably know, you've been through a bad phase. You know, since Dark Side of the Moon, we haven't really done much. And we've been wandering around and trying to sort out what happened with Dark Side of the Moon, and all sorts of personal things going on. And before we went away on holiday, rehearsals were getting rather heavy and rather bad. You know, we weren't actually doing anything. Since we've come back in the last 3 weeks, we've really got a lot of music down. And it's going very well. I'm more confident, actually, in the music we've written now than I was in Dark Side of the Moon, which can't be bad. It's still selling in America. But,
what did you feel was wrong, then, with it? I mean,
I
found
didn't.
nothing wrong.
No, I didn't. What I meant to say was that while we were working on the piece, I didn't feel as excited about what we were doing as I do about these, the latest pieces of music. Well, it's not a piece, in fact. It's 1, 2, 3 at the moment, so it'll be 4, I should think. I just feel more excited about the music that's coming out of our rehearsals now than I did when we were doing Dark Side of the Moon.
And your contribution in the new...
So hopefully, I think this album will be even better, you know.
When will it come out, the album?
Well, we're working on it December, January, February, hopefully March, April, let's say. The idea is to get it out by April, which is about time, because that's 2 years since Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I think we'd definitely get it out by April, because we would have done 1 English tour with it, possibly some European gigs with it, and then it's much easier to go into studio and record something that you've done on the road.
Yeah.
Which Dark Side of the Moon was the first album we did like that, where we actually took it on the road before we recorded it. That is one of the reasons why I think that's probably the best record we've made yet. Whereas before, we always wrote something, recorded it, and then played it live. It's much better to play it live than record it, because you learn a lot through playing live.
What's your particular contribution in the new? Having been to your lovely little studio at your house, where obviously, did you work on things there? I'm working. I've only just got that going, actually. Contribution is actually one of the songs is Roger's, and another song is. We're working on it together, and Roger's written some lyrics. He's again writing lyrics, like in Dark Side of the Moon, he wrote all the lyrics. Yes. It seems to be that he's now becoming the lyric writer of the group. And the third piece is a group thing with Roger's lyrics. So
I haven't actually written anything yet,
although I do have a few things to take down for rehearsals very shortly that we want to try out.
So when you meet, you play a piece to each other? Because it is rather a group thing, isn't it? I mean, one doesn't think of a Floyd composer. I mean, group thing.
It's a group,
as you say, from Roger's lyrics.
It's a group thing. I mean, basically how it works, and usually the best music that we get is when we just work together in a rehearsal, and everyone, puts in ideas. Someone might have a part of a chord sequence, or someone might have a few words, whatever it is. One just sort of gets all the pieces of music, all the ideas that everyone has, and just between us sort of form it into a piece of music. So, but sometimes, someone will come along with the whole thing, words, everything, arrangement. And
have you ever done that?
Yes. Oh yeah, we've all done it. And lots of the things are rejected. It's much harder to get, not much harder, but I mean, it's much easier for us to work together than one person trying to persuade the other three, that should do a song. I mean, Roger's had plenty of songs that I don't think the Floyd will do, but that he recognises probably aren't the type of material that the Floyds ever want to do, actually. And the same for me and the same for Dave. And this isn't a bad thing, actually. I mean, there's lots of things all of us want to do on our own anyway.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, actually, that, I mean, Dave's gone off and produced Unicorn.
Right, and played with Roy Harper. No, I mean, he's Unicorn, basically, is what he's done on his own.
Well, played with Roy Harper in Hyde Park, and at the concert there.
Yeah.
Nick has played
with
Robert Wyatt.
Robert Wyatt. Yeah. I haven't been involved with anybody, but
what will you do, in fact?
What would I do?
Yes.
What
would be your sort of thing when you go?
Oh, the solo album, most definitely, because there's lots of things I want to do that I suspect I could do better by myself than. I don't know, that might be presumptuous of me, but I think I could do better by myself than restricting it to a group format. Also, just for the sheer enjoyment of not compromising, that's what I'd like as well.
Yeah.
So the mistakes, the good things, the bad things, is all my responsibility, which is nice. I mean, it's nice to have that. We've been talking about it lately, actually, about maybe it's about time that the Floyds, say, work for 6 months as a group and another 6 months as individuals.
Yeah.
Where anything could happen. Maybe 2 of the members would play together, maybe we'd form other bands in that 6 months, whatever, Jefferson Airplane, I guess, is the nearest thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good idea. I mean, we've been playing for 8 years.
Yes.
8 years, long time.
Since you're on Top of the Pops.
And all of us, yes. And all of us, I think, have got plans that we want to do that don't necessarily involve working with the group. And I think if we could get rid of this and release all these things we want to do, it'll help the group as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's the same with any group, that there are the pressures build up. Inevitably. Would you say 8 years?
Pressure, what, which, yeah.
Well, I think success brings pressures, doesn't it?
Oh, sure it does, yeah. It certainly does. Terrible pressures.
I mean, Dark Side of the Moon brought, presumably, pressures.
Yes, I mean...
you hit oil, really, there, financially.
Financially, we suddenly made some money. I guess, and Pink Floyd became a business all of a sudden, rather than just a... Well, it was a business before, but suddenly one was aware that Pink Floyd was becoming a product, Yeah. Well, I was. And that a lot of our time and energy was spent hassling about the business side of running a group, rather than actually playing, which is not a good thing. So those pressures got worse,
each of us had pressures on a sort of personal level.
But
how does one cope with success?
What were your pressures?
Well, not for me. It was all right. Well, you know what Roger felt because you spoke to him.
Yeah.
Now I don't have those kind of feelings of guilt or whatever about success.
And how do you view success?
How do I view success? I'm very happy that Dark Side of the Moon made it.
And you have a lovely house that you're restoring.
Yeah.
In the country.
I don't
it's
talk
nice
about
to
that.
know. No, I mean.
I
for that because obviously you're putting a lot of care into it. I mean, you're not sort of moving huge landscape gardeners.
No.
That's obviously a therapy, isn't it? Partly.
Sure.
Working on that house.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better as to jump on my lawnmower and shoot round the garden. A very mundane task that doesn't involve thinking, doesn't involve anything really, and that's a relaxation. But I'm not sure how I really think about it all, actually. I'm still discovering what I think about money and success. You know. And I think all I'm saying basically is I haven't got quite so much guilt about having a lot of money when there's penniless people walking outside as the others. I think is the honest answer. Obviously I enjoy it. I mean, it's very nice to be able to have a big house in the country. It's a standard thing, isn't it? You know, the group makes it, everyone disappears into the country. It's one reads about it every week in the music press. And in fact, for me, it is true. It really has done me a lot of good since I left London. It really has. It's been fantastic.
I mean, you're taken as part of the village. There you go in, and people.
Well, the whole
mind, do they? Well, I suppose that anyway they don't know the Floyd. I suppose that's.
But
you're not in the charts and Gary Glitter. Or...
No, they expected a whole load of freaks to arrive when they heard we bought the house. They thought we were going to have, you know. They thought the whole band was staying there, only hundreds of groupies and everyone roaming about the village. They had all these stupid things. But, I mean, it's... Obviously, they found out that isn't the case. And it's fantastic living with people like that.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows each other. I mean, I have a really nice time up there.
You get perspective.
I don't know. I don't know.
They give you a perspective.
Perspective? And what? How do you mean?
Well, I mean that they were, you know, they're ordinary, honest people doing their going about their living in the country.
Yes.
Not, you know, they couldn't care really who you are. I should think they like you for who you are, rather than what you are. In London, people. If a member of Pink Floyd arrives at a party in London, it's something different.
Oh, I don't think so, actually. And that, on a social thing like that, what you're saying, probably isn't any different. But then no one knows it's in London, in fact. I mean, Pink Floyd, go anywhere. And everyone's very blasé about it, happily, that's nice. Whereas, certainly people, when I went to... out into the country would just sort of actually, you know, come down the house and have a look, expecting to see Gary Glitter or whatever, prancing about in the nude in his swimming pool. And tourists every Saturday and Sunday afternoon. But the actual people who know me, you know, it's totally different. Totally different. And I have time to talk to them, which is amazing. I never seem to have time to talk to people in London, with anyone. You know, you walk out into a village there, you just talk to anybody that you see. And it's a totally different thing. And for me, much better than London. But I don't know if it's reality, you see. I think maybe city life is, in fact, closer to reality of modern life than living in the country. It is an escape. Because all our problems are stemming from living in cities, aren't they?
Indeed.
So that's the reality of the situation, is what's going on in London. What's going on in my village is it's the answer to the problems, I believe. Is the kind of lifestyle that people have out there, but it's not what's happening.
Your solo album, I mean, what would that... Having again seen you in that studio and marvelled at the way that you started off little machines playing this and that, and then whizzed over and did something here and something there. You got an incredible effect. Just one person. I mean, would you use that as a basis? Or?
That is just for me to try out ideas. It's not to make a finished product. And to make demos, basically. And to experiment with things. And to put it on tape. So that I can then go into studio. I mean, if I do a solo album, I mean, that's a question of time, really. I will do one when I've got time. The idea is to do it at home in my studio and play everything myself. Not that I can play everything, but just... And then go into a studio and do it properly, obviously, with other musicians. But...
who would you like to use? Do you have any idea?
I haven't really thought about it. It would depend on... I have no idea what I'll do. I want to sort of plan out 45 minutes of music at home, and that do the whole thing at home, reduce it, get it down to, I mean, do it as best as I can on the equipment I have, and depending on what it is, then I would decide who to use. It depends what the music is. I have no idea. It could be masses of people, or I could suddenly decide I just want to play piano, or I don't know, you see.
Because I'm interested, Floyd as a group used Ron Geeson on Atom Heart Mother. Are you going to use anyone on the new album?
No, no. We only used Ron because none of us could write score. So we asked Ron if he could score for brass and the choir, and obviously knowing Ron, his influence came into it, like the introduction, and that is really his piece of music, basically. But I can't see us on this album, the next album, using anything like brass or choirs or whatever. So we wouldn't use anybody.
Amazing thing in America was the success of their single Money, which wasn't put out here. It was a bit like Tubular Bells that was done out in America.
Right. Well, that was a decision of Capitol Records in America. They just said to us, shall we put out, we want to put a single out, we'll use Money. And we said, all right. We didn't think about it. So we didn't think anything would happen. I mean, this was before Dark Side of the Moon really happened. And it just did, for some reason. Well, I know there's plenty of reasons why it did, actually. Because it's very good.
Why wasn't it put out here?
But it was interesting, the fact that Money made it on the strength of the album, rather than the album making it on the strength of the single, which is usually what happens in America. So you always release a single. Then, if the single makes it, you can then sell your album full of rubbish.
And they always put a sticker on, don't they?
With,
it has hit single ingredient almost. I mean, it does say includes single.
Not everyone does that, but literally that's what does happen. You'll have a hit single, then they'll put that on an album, then just put anything on the rest of the album. Just to sell an album. But, it did make it. And it was played... Well, the reason it made it was because it was on AM radio. Whereas before we'd never been played on anything but FM.
So, why wasn't that released here? Or would you want it released here?
It doesn't worry me at all whether it was released or not. I personally don't worry whether a single's going to make it or not. I'm only concerned about albums. I don't think
Floyd are the ultimate album. I mean, you're into albums and not a single band.
You see, a 3-minute number is not about the Floyd, that is about the song.
you can't put across the feeling of the band in 3 minutes. But, I mean, so if we have a good song, that's fair enough. But I'm only really interested in I think the music the band creates is more important than, say, a 3-minute song. That just becomes, I suppose, an ego trip for the writer. This song makes it.
I wonder why they didn't put it out.
In terms of business, there's no point. It doesn't help either way whether you release a single or not. So it doesn't matter. I don't know why they didn't. I would have thought they would have done, considering, you know.
Well, they put out a sort of resume album, didn't they? Well, at least they brought your albums back.
The
in
first
a package,
two.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. That initiative was again from Capitol, I believe, in America, because they were losing us. I mean, our contract had run out. So, as always, you know, they had to desperately release everything they've got.
How does the group feel when that happens?
Well, we didn't mind. I didn't mind. I did mind at first. I thought, oh no, not here we go again, you know. And in fact, those 2 albums probably sold nothing in America. And I think it's perfectly reasonable, because it was a good price, they're getting 2 for the price of 1. I think it's reasonable to say, here you are, this is old stuff that the Floyd did 5 years ago, if you want it. I mean, there's lots of people who haven't got those albums. They've been deleted, they're not on the list anymore. So I thought it was fair enough.
Would you dread them? Would you dread them here bringing back, like they did to Bowie, with the Laughing Gnome? I think it's called the Laughing Gnome. That was one during his period when he sounded like Anthony Newley. They brought that back, became a hit. If they did that to you and brought back those Top of the Pops...
yeah, what you think, re-release See Emily Play or something. I would fight it because the See Emily Play's got nothing to do with Floyd even at that time, really.
Yeah.
So, but I shouldn't we be able to handle it? As we always do.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you hear that Syd Barrett double album? I mean, did you get hold of that? See it?
I certainly did, because I worked on the second one with Dave. Because Roger and Dave did the first one, and Dave and myself attempted to do the second one. So, there again, I think the reasons for releasing that was probably a money thing in America. Again, that came from America. You know, they wanted to release Syd Barrett. All because of Dark Side of the Moon. I'm sure they suddenly thought, we must get everything out. I think they were appalling, the 2 records, musically. I mean,
I didn't like them.
I can't imagine anyone liking them. I mean, musically, they're atrocious. The songs are great. Most of the songs are great, but performed so badly. The sound was impossible to get any sound because of what state Syd was in. There again, I suppose people are interested just to see. At least it tells a lot of people how Syd is now and where he's at, or how he was when he made them.
Because he's been a rather sort of albatross around the neck.
Yes.
Pink Floyd, in a way. Through no fault of Floyd, but it's a weird thing that people are sort of taking him up or something.
Oh yeah, a legend in his own lifetime. Yeah. I think
a living Jim Reed.
Yes. In fact, when he left the band, I mean, suddenly the band got much, much better. Not only because we were playing with a maniac who, in his own weird way, was not trying to destroy the band, but he had some weird thing of trying to make it as difficult for us to play as possible. But I mean, since he left, it forced the 3 of us, and Dave had just joined, into thinking, well, what can we do now? Because before we relied on his songs. And since
he left, I mean, I think the band has just improved so much. It was a good thing. The music got better, much better, much better.
With your own stuff, are you saying it'll be 2 years since the last between albums? Right. Do you think that's too long? Or?
Yes, definitely. I think a year is probably too long. It is much too long. I mean, 2 years. I mean, because it's boring. I mean, as I said, after Dark Side of the Moon, we all went through a very weird state. That's the reason why we haven't done any work for a year. Really. I mean, we've just been rushing about with all sorts of talking about schemes and plans and this and that, but avoiding the issue, which was to get together and play and go out and tour and make albums. And it went very badly. And it's now going right up again, you know. But certainly 2 years is much too long. Much too long.
So now you're going to do this tour, then you'll go in the studio?
Yeah, we'll do the tour, and we'll go in the studio, make the album, and then we'll go to the States. After that, come back, maybe try and do I'd like to do another film score.
Yes, because you have a...
That's another thing I would like to do, if we ever do this idea of 6 months on and 6 months off. That's another thing I'd like to do, would be a film score, actually. Anyway, we come back from the States and then maybe Europe, and then back to the States again. And
Twice next year.
Yes, and then we stop there. We haven't actually, we're not going to do we're not going to book anything after that. Because usually we tie ourselves up for a whole year. Well, this time we're going to say, right, by next summer, we won't do any more bookings or whatever. So it gives us more freedom to decide what we'll do. We're lucky that we've reached a position where we can do that, you know. And I think it'll save the band. I think if we go on working, as we have done before, I think the band would split up quite rapidly, actually. Because we're all growing up. We're all getting older, you know, and we need to branch off and do various things to keep sane.
Well, so you think when a band grows up, they...
Well, grows up, I don't...
Well, ages
I mean,
then.
Ages, yeah. I don't know, I'm only speaking for our setup. I think if we force ourselves to work with each other for a year and don't allow all these other things that we want to do, I mean, I know Dave would probably love to go off and play a totally different kind of music in another band. He may, I mean...
Well, he played Steel on Unicorn Hole, didn't he? Yeah.
I feel there's lots of ways of playing that he'd like to do that he doesn't do in the Floyd. I think Roger could get into all sorts of things that doesn't involve even rock and roll at all, possibly. You know, like theatre or anything. All these things that, if we don't do the things that we want to do, then we'd split up. But I think a working relationship where we do work for 6 months and then it could be very, very good for all of us. And very, very good for the band and probably very, very good for our fans. Because the energy level would be so much higher then.
Yeah.
And consequently we would play better, write better and everything. So it'll be for the good of everybody.
I suppose the fans might complain this time that, you know, you play these halls through no fault of your own, but not many of them can get to see you.
Well, no, I mean, what can we do? We either sort of stay in Edinburgh for 2 weeks, and it's a disaster for us to ever play a place more than about 3 times. Because as you go on and on in the same place, I mean, the energy levels get lower and lower, and the gigs get worse and worse. And in our experience...
Why is that?
It's just for us, it's very hard to perform in the same place. I don't know, I guess it's just the moving and a new city or whatever.
Mm.
And we played in Paris for 3 days, and we could have played in Paris for much, much longer, but after 3 days we said that's it, we just couldn't do anymore. But then we could get up, get on a plane and go to another city and play a really good gig. I think psychologically, for us, it just couldn't make doing more than about 3 gigs. It's very hard, for example, for us to play in the daytime.
Mm. Yeah.
They wanted us to play at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Where was that?
At Wembley.
Mm.
But we're not going to, because none of us could face the idea of getting up on stage at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and playing.
Yeah.
You know?
It would seem slightly unreal, I should think.
I don't know what the answer is to... obviously in London, you know, a lot of people will be able to see us because it's a big place, 8,000 a night.
Mm.
Places like Edinburgh, there's not much we can do unless we... I mean, we went around the whole of England. Well, we didn't, but we had Arthur going around the whole of England looking for big places to play in.
Mm.
And there's nothing in England. Nothing at all.
Rick Wright, very pleasant he is too, and good luck to the Floyd on their tour.